Who are the Taliban and why are they feared? Where did they come from and what do they want? As they make global headlines yet again, here is their story. Taliban means students. Believe it or balk, this is what the word that spreads fear across the world originally means in Pashto. Pashto is the first language of an estimated 55% of Afghanistan's population, according to the UNESCO. Pashto is also spoken in parts of Pakistan and Iran, both of which border Afghanistan. Today, the word Taliban refers to a dreaded Islamic outfit that is taking back control of Afghanistan. Today, the word evokes fear. Afghanistan is famously called the graveyard of empires. History tells us that since the 11th century BC, different empires and forces have tried to gain control over Afghanistan. Despite being a landlocked country, Afghanistan continues to be a tempting spot in the greater game of geostrategic power play. Way back in history, empires in Persia, today's Iran, tried to control Afghanistan. Alexander, or Sikandar as he is known in this part of the world, won battle after battle and came close to modern-day India's borders. He eyed Afghanistan. But his luck ran out. The mighty Mauryans from Maghaf, South Bihar, too eyed the region and failed. That is a part of history that repeats itself till today. The Mughals, the British, the Soviets, and now the Americans have all tried but failed to control Afghanistan. The return of the Taliban in Afghanistan is yet another validation of the epithet that historians have given to the country, the graveyard of empires. The Taliban, too, in its first attempt had failed to maintain sway over Afghanistan. The who's who in the Taliban. As an outfit, the Taliban are not transparent about their composition. They are fighting in Afghanistan, but observers believe the Taliban leadership could actually be based outside Afghanistan. Through a strict code of conduct and exemplary punishment for defection or desertion, the Taliban leadership maintains supreme control on their gun carriers. The Taliban leadership is hierarchical with the top body known as the Robbery Shura. It is more famously known as the Quetta Shura after the Pakistani city where Taliban's founder Muhammad Mullah Omar, along with his top aides, was believed to be hiding after the US invaded Afghanistan in 2001. After Mullah Omar's death, the Taliban's leadership passed on to Mullah Akhtar Muhammad Mansour, who was later killed in an American airstrike in 2016 in Pakistan. Omar had also died in Pakistan in a Karachi hospital. Currently, the Taliban are led by Maulawi Hibatullah Akhundzada as the head of the Robbery Shura, the council that takes all the political and military decisions for what it calls the Emirate, the Afghanistan territories under its control. Hibatullah Akhundzada's designation within the Taliban is Amir al-Mu'minin, which translates to Commander of the Faithful. It is the supreme post in the Taliban. It was the title taken by Mullah Omar when he had become the Taliban chief. Hibatullah Akhundzada runs the Robbery Shura with the help of three known deputies. They are Mullah Muhammad Yaqub, Mullah Omar's son, Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar, one of the Taliban's co-founders, and Sirajuddin Haqqani, the current leader of the Haqqani network, which intelligence agencies of many countries believe is the connecting link between the Taliban, the Al-Qaeda, and Pakistan's spy agency, the Interstate Intelligence. Mullah Omar's son Muhammad Yaqub is in charge of ideological and religious affairs of the Taliban. Sirajuddin Haqqani is responsible for quelling insurgency, that is, any voice of opposition to the Taliban diktat or rule. Below the Robbery Shura are various commissions similar to ministries in a regular government. Through these commissions, the Taliban run their shadow government. These commissions are responsible for implementing policies with respect to military, economy, education, health, and propaganda. The most powerful of them is the Military Commission, which appoints governors and commanders in the provinces of Afghanistan as they come under the Taliban rule. The governors and commanders form the third tier of the Taliban hierarchy. The Political Commission of Taliban, headed by Abdul Ghani Baradar, held talks with U.S. negotiators for a peace deal that they signed in Qatar in February 2021. This peace deal is the basis for the current withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan. The withdrawal comes after a 20-year stay in the country. When the world woke up to the Taliban. Taliban as a word entered the global lexicon in the first half of the 1990s. The Taliban had emerged from the madrasas, schools of Islamic education, across Afghanistan and Pakistan. They were a militia group that surfaced as a force of social order in Afghanistan. They appeared on the scene as an ultra-conservative group with political, religious, and social control in Afghanistan during the 1990s. They enforced Sharia-based law as interpreted by their conservative beliefs in areas they progressively took under their control. The first politically significant victory of the Taliban came in 1994, when they seized Kandahar and imposed their rule. An ancient city, Kandahar is strategically located in south-central Afghanistan on the route connecting Central Asia, Pakistan, and India. In ancient times, the Persians controlled Kandahar, and Alexander the Great took possession of it before Chandragupta Maurya and his grandson Ashoka the Great ruled over the city. The Kandahar story. The fall of Kandahar to the Taliban was significant as its history has always been entangled with that of Afghanistan. The Taliban's control of Kandahar indicated that it was only a matter of time that they ruled the whole or most of Afghanistan. Kandahar had become the capital of unified Afghanistan in the 18th century. The great Mongol invader Genghis Khan destroyed the city when he attacked Afghanistan in the 12th century, but Kandahar resurrected and changed hands, eventually from Persian to Mughals and back till the 18th century. The British came to control Kandahar and Afghanistan in the 19th century as they saw a rising Russia as a threat to their Indian empire. Over 90 years, the British and the Afghans fought 3 wars before the English Empire retreated. The Soviets attempted to control Afghanistan in the 20th century multiple times after establishing their rule in Russia and surrounding countries from Europe to Asia. The Soviet misadventure would finally be the immediate cause for the rise of Taliban in Afghanistan through the 1980s. Afghanistan. Before Taliban. The roots of Taliban's origin lie in the rule of Afghanistan's last princely ruler Muhammad Zahir Shah, 1933–73. Zahir Shah was the third ruler of Afghanistan who tried to emulate the progressive ideas of communist Soviet Russia. The first ruler was Amanullah, who brought out a constitution of Afghanistan in 1923, incidentally the same year when the Islamic Caliphate was brought to an end in Turkey by revolutionary leader Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. Amanullah's constitution called for equality of gender and opportunity across religions. It hurt the powerful clergy, who rose in revolt, and one faction led by a Tajik ethnic leader captured Kabul. Amanullah, who had earlier changed his title from Emir to Padshah, king, abdicated the throne instead of making an attempt to seize back the control of Kabul. After a brief struggle for succession, Amanullah's distant cousin Muhammad Nader Shah seized power in Afghanistan in 1929. He continued Amanullah's Soviet-inspired policies but left the religious space to the hardliner clergy class. But he was assassinated 4 years later. Zahir Shah, his son, saw Afghanistan through the periods of World War II and the initial decades of the Cold War. He was only 19 when he became the ruler of Afghanistan. His reign saw several prime ministers, but 2 are considered to have contributed to the rise Taliban as a reactionary Islamic force. They were Shah Mahmud and Dud Khan. Shah Mahmud challenged the conservatives among religious leaders with his decisions of free election, freer press, and a liberal parliament. He was ousted by Muhammad Dud Khan, supported by fundamentalist Islamists. Dud Khan copied the Soviet model of economy and military. It was during his tenure that Soviet Russia virtually came to rule Afghanistan in all policy decisions. Among the decisions he took were allowing women to wear burqa or other veil voluntarily and abolishing purdah, the practice of secluding women from public view. This saw a surprise rise of women's participation in public domain. But it did not go well with the clergy class. A democratic Afghanistan. Another move under Zahir Shah was the introduction of constitutional monarchy. A new constitution was brought in and it was approved by Loya Jirga, the Afghan Grand Council. 2 new houses of parliament were to be constituted. One was to be the House of People. The second was the House of Elders, and it was supposed to have members elected by the people, appointed by the king, and selected by provincial assemblies. It was an idea of a democratic Afghanistan. Elections were held to both houses of Afghanistan's legislature in 1966 and 1969.